Welcome to Buckeye Sports, Episode 3. I'm Keaton Kessler with Emmet Morris, filling in for Danielle and Hannah this week as we had a very exciting weekend across all sports.
We sure did, Keaton, and we're going to start on the ice as Ohio State traveled to take on Wisconsin to take on the number 7 team in the nation, the Badgers, on Saturday night, as they came off an upset the night before with Ohio State stunning the Badgers 5-1, and they carried that momentum into Saturday's game by quickly striking as Max Montez puts the Buckeyes up 1-0. With the assist from Broughton Sabo and Sam McGinley. Just a minute later, the Buckeyes find the net yet again as Adam Azzelli scored with the help from Jake Carbella. However, the Badgers struck back and they absolutely exploded for 4 unanswered goals, 2 by Oliver Tuck and Grady Deering to tie the game in the first period to take it into the first intermission, and Logan Hensler and Bruno Idzon out of the gate in the second to give the Badgers a 4-2 lead midway in the second. The Buckeyes did answer, however, with Azzelli getting his second of the night with the assist from assistant captain Riley Thompson and Felix Caron. But Wisconsin immediately got it back with a goal by Vasily Zelenov to put Wisconsin up 5-3. But Ohio State was on their last breath and he needed the rally back, and that's what they did. Jake Dunlap scored along with Nathan McBriar, who scored his first of the year to tie us up at 5. However, Ohio State went into overtime playing with the man down, and Gavin Morrissey for Wisconsin took advantage of that and had an insane shot to beat the Buckeye goaltender Krzysztof Eberle, and the Badgers win an incredible game over the Buckeyes 6-5 in overtime. Keaton, even though the Buckeyes lost, they still do get a point in the standings for the Big Ten, as they did come back to force the game into overtime.
Yes, Emmet, and hopefully they can carry that momentum as they travel to Ann Arbor this weekend to take on that team up north who sits at number 2 in the nation. Now, we stick on that ice and move to the women's side as they won Friday night, defeating Minnesota State 5-2 here in Columbus. The number 3 team in the nation started off Saturday's game right, with Joy Dunn scoring first with the assist from Mira Yuniger and Hilda Svevenson. Wrapped it up, making it 1-0 Bucks. But just like that, the night before, the Mavericks responded quickly as Michaela Morin finished a nice play that was set up by Lauren Zawowski and Ava Guillamente, and the game tied at 1. The Buckeyes responded immediately, with Sarah Swiderski scoring and placing the Bucks up 2-1 going into the first intermission. And from that, it was all Buckeyes in the second as they tacked on 3 more from Emma Preschel, Jocelyn Amos, and Maxine Cimarroni to put OSU up 5-1 after 2. But MSU didn't go down without a fight. With only 85 seconds into the third, they rallied for 2 as Cameron Van Batavia and Zawowski, with her second point of the night, brought the Mavericks back into the game and pulled them in with 2. However, their defensive cost them as Jordan Baxter and Sloan Matthews put the game away with goals of their own, resulting in the Buckeyes taking the 7-3 sweep against the Mavericks. That was a lot of offensive power from the Bucks, don't you say, Emmet?
I do say, Keaton, and they're definitely going to need it, as this weekend they travel to play on the number 5 team in the nation, Minnesota Duluth. Now, let's head over to the Schottenstein Center as Ohio State welcomed in the Notre Dame Irish for a thrilling game on Sunday, and it was a day of celebration as Ohio State honored their best player in their school's history, Jerry Lucas, by giving him a statue and even letting him dot the I at halftime. On to the game itself, Ohio State started slow, really offensively, as they fell behind the Irish 23-12 midway through the first half. But back-to-back shots made by Gabe Cupps off the bench and a 3 by Big Ten points per game leader Bruce Thornton cut the lead down to 6. Later in the half, Thornton made 4 key free throws from the line and a nice drive and a pull-up to bring the Buckeyes within 3 at the end of the half, with the Irish leading 34-31 at halftime. The second half was a very different story, however. It was a back-and-forth half, with Ohio State eventually pulling away up 6 with a few minutes left to play, but then the Irish caught fire, with back-to-back shots made by Marcus Burton and Braden Swansbury, and the Irish ultimately leading by 1 with 23 seconds left, with Ohio State having the ball and a timeout. Now, these Buckeyes needed a huge shot here, especially with them missing their last 6 out of 7 shots. And Krzysztof Chili stepped up, who scored 14 out of his last 18 points in the second half, and he delivered by driving the ball down the lane and getting the layup to put the Buckeyes up 1 with 13 seconds left. Then, Notre Dame quickly inbounded the ball as Burton, heavily guarded by Tilly, misses the game winner, and Ohio State escapes with a win 64-63 over Notre Dame. That game was down to the wire. Don't you say, Keaton?
Yes, it was a thrilling matchup, just like our women's team as they traveled to take on the #1 team in the nation, UConn, and the first quarter was electric. Both teams traded buckets, with Ohio State even going on a 7-0 run at one point. However, a buzzer-beating layup made by Blanca Quinones gave the Huskies a 27-24 lead after one. UConn took that momentum to open the second quarter with an 8-0 run until Kylie Keats made the mid-range jump to stop the bleeding, but the Buckeyes trailed 35-26. But the other 8-0 run later in the quarter doesn't help as UConn holds the Buckeyes to only 6 points in the second and take a 50-30 lead into half. Ohio State did show some life as Jeloni Cambridge ignited a 13-2 run to trim the lead down, but UConn immediately answered with a 10-0 run after their own and brought UConn up 79-51 at the end of the third quarter. From there, the team just traded buckets, with UConn winning and wrapping up the game 100-68. It's always hard to beat that #1 team in the nation, don't you agree, Emmet?
I agree, Keaton, but they should be able to hopefully rebound as they welcome in the Kent State Golden Flashers to the Schottenstein Center on Wednesday night. This is Emmet Morris and Keaton Kessler. Stay tuned for Buckeye highlights here on Buckeye Sports.